Hello there, my name's Card. I'm a long-time progressive community organiser and activist. And here on my YouTube page, I like to make simple little videos about all sorts of things. Most of the time, sharing thoughts and opinions of mine that are informed by my politics. Today, I want to talk for a little bit about a controversial US political figure, one who's been out of the limelight for close to a decade now, but who's been sticking their head out into politics again and doing a number of media appearances again as of late. In case you didn't know, disgraced former US Congressman Anthony Weiner has been eyeing another bid for public office recently. And as part of a big PR push, he's been doing a number of radio shows and TV spots and even podcast interviews. I found out about all this because a couple of days ago now, Weiner made a surprising appearance as an interviewee on the premier centre-left internet-based sit-down politics hour, the Friedland Show. I just saw the show myself, and it's pretty clear. Anthony Weiner is evil. And that's just what I wanted to efficiently point out to everyone today. I'll link the episode itself at the top of the description for anyone who wants to go watch it in full. But I'll just be pulling out a few choice clips here to illustrate my point, so I'll just jump right into it. One of the first real questions the host, Friedland, puts to Mr. Weiner is on the matter of whether or not sitting members of Congress should be allowed to trade stocks in industries they're also ostensibly meant to be legislating for and regulating and so on. Here's the clip.
Yeah, but people have
How
money.
the hell does she know what stocks to get behind?
A lot of people are rich. Yeah, are you not familiar with that? Like
I'm
lot of
making a
people.
joke about how, like,
Yeah, and I'm not playing along.
why you think that members of Congress should own stocks?
Why shouldn't members of Congress own stock? It's the most transparent fucking body on earth.
I think that you can.
Every fucking word is published somewhere. Every
Do you
word
think
that's said.
that if you have an investment in something,
Go ahead.
and there's a piece of legislation
Yes.
that would threaten that investment, do you think that that is a conflict of interest?
No, because it's
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's ghoulish. It really is absolutely disgusting hearing this man who used to be in Congress and who is once again seeking higher office to say blatantly that insider trading is fine. Hell, what he's saying is fine here is worse than regular insider trading. If you're an American voter, you'd expect your congressmen and your senators are supposed to regulate Wall Street and try to curb financial crime, not just partake in it. But Weiner goes on to excuse the fact that elected officials like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and him, I guess, are blatantly manipulating the stock market by buying in industries they make laws regarding, by saying, well, the laws we make affect so many industries, all industries really, that there isn't any type of stock you could even buy that isn't affected in some way by our laws.
Let's say you already have an investment, and this would threaten that investment. Is it morally
there are
correct?
pieces of legislation that threaten and enhance every investment on earth.
It's not
I'm
bumper
so
sticker.
over it.
There are so many.
This is like wafer thin, man. Oh
Anthony,
my God, the conflict of
It
interest.
doesn't matter
because
being
you're-
right. It doesn't matter being right? And it sounds bad to people that members of Congress come in
I know.
with not a lot of money and leave incredibly wealthy.
Dude,
okay?
my dude, listen, I understand.
Yes, brother.
People have a wafer thin, virtually translucent knowledge of politics that gets reinforced by assholes like you, and I'm supposed to go, oh yeah, that's up
Why
to
is
them.
why is that
No.
asshole?
You're choosing the wrong correlative. The correlative is that these are people that are exposed to a lot of rich people. So the idea that investing on like inside information, every single thing that goes on in the economy, sometime or another, the United States Congress touches upon. So basically you're saying, well, you've got all this inside knowledge about everything on earth. Literally, as a member of Congress from Brooklyn, I was voting on agriculture policy. Didn't mean that I have inside information on soybean prices. It's a stupid premise. Now, if you want to say that rich people become members of Congress, bounce off other rich people, have information and investment opportunities that normal Mrs. Krapalucci doesn't have, 100% right. But it has nothing to do with the work of Congress, with being in a committee and saying, this line 17 here, which no one can read, says that we're going to start investing in AI. I'm going to go invest in AI. That's bullshit.
Okay.
Well, I would think then, that's all the more reason you and people like you shouldn't be in the stocks game. And the thing he says about how everything that happens in Congress is public and therefore it's fine breaks apart under scrutiny too. Take a look at this.
Why shouldn't members of Congress own stock? It's the most transparent fucking body on earth.
I think that you can...
Every fucking word is published somewhere.
First of all, everything that happens in the US Congress isn't public. Take, for instance, right before COVID-19 was officially announced publicly as being a big national public health emergency, Congress had a closed-door hearing about it days prior. Then all the reps and senators mysteriously reorganized their stock portfolios before the news of the pandemic hit the public. What happened there? You know, closed door. That means no one outside gets to know what happened inside. It doesn't seem very transparent to me. Here's the thing. 10 years ago, Anthony Weiner used to get up on the floor of Congress and yell, "The Republican Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of the insurance industry." So, was that always a charade for the cameras? Or do you think it's just plain old hypocrisy here then? Just about everything in this interview is like that. It's thoroughly disgusting. A couple standout moments for me is how Weiner repeatedly refers to himself as working class and having come from a working class background. No one from the most expensive neighborhood in Brooklyn who goes straight through private school and university to run a desk in some senator's office for a few years, then get a cushy congressional safe seat, is working class. Look at him ham it up saying his dad ran some small-time law office.
Okay, your dad? An attorney.
He was like a little neighborhood attorney. He kind of hung a shingle outside our house, that kind of vibe.
Just like a family law practice.
He did some real estate stuff, yeah. I don't really know for sure. Like did some real estate closings, that kind of thing. Wasn't big enough. He's like for people who wouldn't have Jacoby Myers, but they wouldn't have a big firm. They'd have like Grau and Weiner.
Weiner's dad wasn't some poor schmuck just trying to make ends meet down at the petty claims factory. He ran his own firm doing real estate law in the most expensive zip code in the country. Or hey, what about when he hand waves away the fact he was a big supporter of the war in Iraq?
The Bush year is largely forgotten. I did my A work then, and like no one remembers it. But go ahead.
I mean, we shouldn't forget it. I mean, you did vote for the Iraq War.
I did, yeah, I did.
That was a crap war.
That was a bad call by me.
That was a bad call.
Oof, bad call.
Yeah.
It was a bad call. Is that all the introspection we're gonna get? This man is a ghoul. And he acts like it's no big deal, too. That's the most galling part of it, in a way. By the end of the interview, he's doing Rodney Dangerfield bits about how people don't like him for some reason.
Talk about your wife.
I get no respect for my wife. The other day I was at a bar. The bartender says, "What do you want?" I said, "I don't know, surprise me." He shows me a naked picture of my wife. Oh, I get no respect.
But what is actually the single most repellent thing in this interview, the thing that made me really want to make this video, is how Anthony Weiner talks about the crime for which he was charged, and the crime he took a plea deal on, and ended up serving 15 months in jail for. For those who don't know, when he was in office, Representative Weiner had a scandal that basically boiled down to him inadvertently tweeting out a picture of, let's say, his bulging underwear. And he tried to cover it up. He lied and said he was hacked. He lied and said it wasn't him. He lied about it to the FBI investigation that has to happen when a sitting congressman's social media gets hacked. Then, eventually, a couple women came forward and said he'd DM'd them that same picture in the past. They proved it. So he fessed up, said he had a problem with messaging random women pictures of his junk online, refused to resign, and promised he wouldn't do it again. Then, like a year later, he did it again. A bunch of women came forward and proved Weiner had been sending them pictures of his fully nude self to them. Once again, Anthony says he has a problem and vows not to do it again. Neither of those is the incident that actually got him in trouble. What did, the actual crime, was, a little while after that, not a woman, but a girl, a 15-year-old girl, a girl Weiner explicitly knew to be underage, comes forward and proves that, yes, he has been carrying on an extended exchange of explicit pictures and messages with this girl for some time. Yeah, if you lived in New York the past decade, your congressman was a groomer. Now, Weiner alludes to having spent just 15 months in prison for this in the interview.
But what I think probably complicates matters for you is the jail sentence and
Correct.
the final time that it included someone that was an underage
Correct.
individual. You now are on the registry, right?
Correct.
And I'm just wondering, you've been in the system now, right?
I have.
You know,
But he frames taking the plea deal as something he's kind of proud of, that was smart for him to do, because it got him out of taking the case to trial and potentially facing a decade plus in prison. He tries to spin it, in this interview, that we need prison sentencing reform in America. And to prove it, look at how many people, like him, are incentivized to plead out rather than have their day in court.
People being made examples of, and the idea of people being over-incarcerated. I learned, I was a very privileged person to be in that system, but I experienced a lot of men in that system who were also charged with things they probably shouldn't have been for periods of time that they shouldn't have, and their inability to get a trial, a fair trial, because of the trial penalty in the federal system. So I learned a lot about that stuff that informs how I talk about this stuff today.
do you know that this individual was underage at the time?
I didn't have a trial. And I'm reluctant to do anything that sounds like I'm not accepting responsibility for what I did. However, there are elements of this case that made it winnable for me. Let's just put it that way.
If it was winnable, why wouldn't you try to win?
Because they said to you, you can either accept this charge or we're going to charge you with something else that has a mandatory minimum. And so the risk is called the trial penalty in the federal system. So it's very risky, and that's why so few people go to trial, because you can plea bargain for 21 months and see your 6-year-old again in a couple of years, or take your chance going to a trial with the name Anthony Weiner and all that goes with that, and hope that you win the case and spend a lot of money, and then you could then get charged with, then you're found guilty of a 10-year mandatory minimum because they charge you with something else. Not many people go to trial in the federal system, like 1 or 2%, because they have the ability to really raise the cost for you if you decide to.
How has it affected your life, though, being on a registry, since you've been out of jail?
Well, it's very hard. It's a thing that people can say about you that taints you and that makes it seem like you're scary, and that people can make up stories. My whole thing is I'll accept responsibility for things I've done, not for things I have not done. The prosecutors said you have to accept this as part of the penalty, as part of your plea bargain, and so we said we would.
Worse still, Weiner claims the plea deal he agreed to, that very lenient 15 months for protracted grooming, that's an example of how the New York City prosecutor's office is making him a political prisoner. In his telling of it, they're only charging him with pedophile sex crimes because they're jealous of his success in politics.
I wonder what impact it had on you to be in the system, and what impact it has on you now to still be still be on this registry and have something that follows you the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, first of all, the registry part is something I had to agree to. The crime I committed, obscenity, was not included in that, but the prosecutor, look, it's informed me in the following ways. One, that prosecutors make decisions for political reasons. The higher the monkey climbs, the more you can see his ass, and that I accept. I was a famous person, so someone that might not get charged for a crime, it was ridiculous for me to get charged with a crime and to do prison sentence for the things that I did.
You think that?
Well, no one
is that your claim?
No one generally gets prosecuted no one in the Southern District's ever been sentenced for obscenity, for transferring obscene material. So I did learn that there was an element of prosecutorial discretion that I think everyone should be concerned about, that people...
This is evil. I'll also point out that by taking the deal and not taking the case to trial, all of the exact facts of what happened with the teenage girl, what exactly Weiner sent to her, therefore never became evidence in a courtroom setting, and are therefore not on the public record. He, of course, doesn't want the public to know exactly what he did with the teenage girl, because that might hurt his future electoral prospects. The plea deal is a way for him to dodge that transparency and accountability he supposedly holds in such high esteem with regards to stuff like congressional stock trading. It's sickening, and I just wanted to point that out to everyone. Remember, this guy is still in politics. If he wants another seat, or a governorship, or to be the mayor of New York City, he's still out there doing this soft campaign, biding his time for the next election season, and he positions himself as this middle-of-the-road, moderate, blue dog Democrat. And you know, I gotta agree completely. The median Democrat is a pedophile fraudster. I'll stop saying it when, or if, it ever stops being true. It's just something to think about. Anyway, if you might like to hear more from me, feel free to subscribe to this YouTube page, or to take a look at my other videos. Either way, goodbye for now, and have a lovely day.